Well, happy Sunday morning, everyone. Welcome to the program. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving this week. We did. We had two, as a matter of fact. We had one on Thursday at Rainey's Folks, and we had one here yesterday, a much smaller version. Well, maybe it wasn't because it was only very close family up at Rainey's mom's. There were some people in the family that couldn't make it, and same here. My son and his girlfriend came over yesterday, and we had a good time making a big turkey, and we ate it almost all of it. So, and all the fixins and all of that. So, welcome to everybody who's here. This, of course, is the unofficial program of the Intrepid Radio program, and we are here on Sunday mornings to just be informal and just talk about stuff, have a little coffee together, and enjoy ourselves. And for an hour or two, depending on how it goes and how we feel and what's going on and what people want to talk about. So welcome this morning. Rainey is still sleeping over there. So if she wakes up and feels beautified enough, she may come and join us again. And hopefully without touching me inappropriately this time. Well, then again, I enjoy that. So cheers to that. Drink your coffee. Hey, Daniel Craig, Scott Allen, Morgan Snow, Field Guy over in the chat room already. Welcome to the program. And those many of you I see over there that are just stacked up to listen or to watch. You're welcome to do that, but you're also welcome over here in the chat room if you want to share your mind or talk with some of the other folks here. Hey, JP, he just popped into howdy, howdy. He says, howdy, howdy. And who else we got? Well, if I look over in the Instagram channel, I don't see anybody over in there yet that signed in anyway. So welcome if you're on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, X. If you're in any of those places, you can leave comments and you can see comments, but you don't see the chat. If you want the chat, come on over to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Scotty Roberts, and you'll find this show. So how is everybody today? My coffee is good. I've got a mellow waking up today that feels pretty good. And I'm not tired out today. My eyes may look it, but they're still not all healed up yet. And this one is going to have to be redone, as I've mentioned before, which really sucks. But there it is. Hey, Sherry, good to see you this morning. And as the doc told me, oh, you must have blown your stitches somewhere in there. That's why my eye sags. So, and no, it was not plastic surgery. I liked my eyes the way they were. But after the cataract surgery, it loosened some of the muscles in there, and my eyes were drooping a bit over my eye. My eyelashes would droop down, and it would make it harder to see. So they said, well, let's do what we do with a lot of people and take some of that extra skin out of there and stitch it up. And it's supposed to work to make you see better. And it's still, so it's a little fudged up. Field Guy says, doctors know nothing. Yeah, then again, I'd rather have a doctor working on my heart if they have to cut my chest open than you or the guy down the street that also puts in heating vents. So I trust doctors to a certain extent, but they don't know everything. That's true. Sometimes it's trial and error. I mean, look at my eye. Look into my eye. So I feel like that surgery made and the purpose wasn't aesthetic or cosmetic, but it made me look 10 years older when I look in the mirror. That's to me anyway. So there's that. There's the doctor's report for today. So good morning, everybody. I hope your day is good so far. What's on your mind? I was just watching a little video this morning while I was getting my coffee ready, waiting for my coffee to brew. And it was Bill Maher. If many of you know him, many of you may not know who he is. Bill Maher, a very liberal, progressive, far left, you would call him. Commentator. He's had a show on HBO for years. And I remember when he started out in the 80s, I saw him in a show. I don't know where this show aired in the 80s. I think it was an HBO show even back then, but it was like a sitcom, and he was the brother to he was kind of the more, I want to say he was the more straight-laced brother to a goofy younger brother, but it was a show about brothers, and I can't remember what that was. If anybody remembers that, it'd be interesting just to find out. Field Guy says, Bill Maher, asswipe. And yes, Morgan Snow, the doctor said I have to have it redone. And I'm just like, oh, it's been like 3 months. You remember how it looked that first week or two? Just my whole face turned purple and all of that. And do I want to go through that again? Rainey said I should. Just get it done. She says, get it fixed. So I might as well get it fixed. They have to wait a little bit of time before they do that, though. I think another month before they even start. Scott Allen says, I never knew he was on a sitcom. He has a Spotify podcast. Yeah. He was just saying this morning, he was talking about some new song phenom who was kind of a struggling singer, transsexual, and got on Spotify, and one of her songs hit, and she had like 3.2 billion plays of that on Spotify, which Bill Maher then said, which garnered her a whole 11 cents. So I don't know what his experience is with Spotify. I don't know if it counts for number of hits or longevity. I don't know what it is. I've not been over to Spotify very much. So that's what, but he was talking about her because, and I cannot think of her name. Let's see, do I maybe it's still here on my phone, and I can tell you who this person is. We'll see if it's still up here. Yeah, it is. He was talking about, let's see. It's going to come up here in a second. It's playing, but it's not playing. I think it is. Well, maybe it's not playing. Okay. Well, that kind of. Yeah, I'm going to turn this down. He was talking because this artist, and if you know her name, Politically Incorrect was his first attempt at a political talk show. That wasn't his sitcom. Was it Bill Maher talking to NDGT? I don't know what NDGT is. I don't recall that coming up. I'm looking here to see if he said something about who this is. I know he did. He named this person. There it is. The name is, it's so small I can't see it. It's this person. If you can see who that is, I can't even read that with my glasses on. It's so darn small. Chapel somebody. That was it. And he said, the interesting thing he said about some of her commentary on her TikTok was that she said, basically said, fuck all the policies on the right. And he kind of chuckled at that. And he says, and then she said, and fuck some of the policies on the left. And he said she's exhibiting as a Gen Zer some of those highly vaunted embryonic stages of critical thinking. And he said, now, if everybody, it wasn't Neil deGrasse Tyson, a cross-dressing singer. Yes, that's Neil deGrasse Tyson right there. And Neil deGrasse Tyson, by the way, if you follow the science, he ain't right about everything. He infuses his own political ideology into his scientific explanations of things. And that's not following the science. So, anyway, this particular girl, Chappell is her name, Chappell, and there's a last name which I couldn't pick up on there. Became a phenomenon, and so she's making commentary, and she was talking about politics, And he said she was pretty good about having this kind of rudimentary critical thinking going on, saying, look, I might hate the right, but I find things that I don't like about the left either. And Bill Maher said that's pretty much where he was. And Bill Maher, you got to look at him, and this guy, you'd almost thought he was a Trump supporter at times when you'd listen to him before the election. But he did say he would never vote for him. He didn't like him, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And decried some of his policies. But he also decried a hell of a lot of the policies of the left because he said, I like to think my way through things. And so he was giving, he said she was good up until the point this singer started talking about Israel and what she wanted to believe about Israel. Israel being colonizers, Israel suppressing Gaza. And he said, look, he said, if you get all your information about anything going on in the world, in the news, solely from a place like TikTok, he says you're going to get jaded or incorrect information. And he went about stating here like this. I could say on the internet, for those of you who don't know me, my name's Scotty Roberts, and I am 35 years old. And if you're not looking at the screen, and I am politically left, and I grew up in Southern Africa, and I moved to the Midwest, where I am a multi-billionaire. So, you could say all these things about what we are on the internet. And he says that if you listen to them without doing your critical thinking or your due diligence, you end up sometimes accepting, maybe not believing, but accepting things that you hear. And so in this little video from Bill Maher, which is worth watching, it's about 5+ minutes long. It's a long video. You're going to lose people after 30 seconds. It seems like nowadays with people who flip through their phones, if you go on for more than 30 seconds, you've lost your audience. It's like some of my TikToks that I do. When I'm doing card readings, tarot, which seems to be rampant amongst the younger set. What is it now? It's not. We had Gen Z, we had Gen X. What are the? I'm at the tail end of baby boomers, is where I fall into that. I was born in supposedly the last year that baby boomers were born, 1960. Now that varies. You go something like, no, I was 62. All depends on who's writing the stats for that and what you're going to believe by what you read. So what's the current set of youth that are coming into adulthood? What are they being called? 60. You're 66, Sherry? Yeah, you're not far behind me. So you're 35 too. And yeah, he started. Field Guy says Bill Maher started as a comedian. I guess he just doesn't make people laugh nowadays. One thing I have liked about him, Field Guy, is that I have seen him, even though I disagree with some of the things he says, which is fine. It's the way it's supposed to be. None of you have to agree with everything I say on here, for sure. But I have found him to be intellectually honest, even though his political ideology sometimes dictates his intellect. So I have enjoyed that about him. Oh, you're 29, Sherry. Yeah, there you go. I flew way past 29. I am now 35. So let's see. But he said, let's give you a little history about what happened in Israel. If you're getting all your facts about Israel and who they are and what they are and whether or not they're colonizers or whether or not they belong in that land, he said it's worth looking into history. And he said there is one hard, fast document, he says, that will establish some of this for you. And he says, whether you like everything about it, it's the Bible. He says, the Bible, you may not like its cooking rules or its sexuality rules or its whatever and whatever and whatever. He says, but the history for the most part checks out. And that's something Bill Maher said that surprises me, because where I hear a lot of people say, well, the Bible is just a bunch of myths. It's all myths. It's blah, 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 blah. And I say, well, have you ever done any historical study of the Bible? Now, I have said for a very long time, the Bible is something you can or cannot accept on a faith level. That's one level of the Bible. You don't have to accept what's in there by faith. People of faith of the Bible will say, well, yes, you do, but that's their faith. So the Bible is a book of faith. It's something you can take or leave if we look at it totally out in the open and a pure look at it. But historically, I find that the Bible is a book of history wrapped up in a faith story. So you would look at your historical portions of the Bible and have to ask, well, does that mean that they're tainted by faith issues? Well, maybe it looks like it at times, but what I found is, and now this is an old reading on this, but I've done a lot of study on the history of biblical stories, the history of biblical topics. That was part why I went to seminary when I was a kid. Of course, going to seminary, you're learning the theology to pass on to others. But I was also very big on the history, and I enjoyed the history. I wanted to hear more or learn more about the history. And it was said a couple of decades ago, it was said there are over 1,500 points of history in the Bible that have been thoroughly established by science and archaeology. Now, you can't establish whether there are angels or whether there are demons or whether there is a heaven or whether there is a hell or everything else in between by the Bible. You can't establish that historically or scientifically, but you can establish things like, was there a temple in Jerusalem? Yes, there was. Was that temple built 7 centuries before Islam ever existed? Yes, it was. Was it on the site where the Dome of the Rock Islamic temple shrine stands today? Yeah, that's where it was. Jerusalem is an old city. Jerusalem has archaeology that's been going on. There's been many points of biblical archaeology that have been established that are found in the Bible. Sherry says the flood really happened. Now, that's a geologic event. We do know that there were 2 major catastrophic worldwide floods, if you will. Whoops, just tipped my mic over. That took place in, I think it was 8,000 and 6,000 BCE. These 2 major floods took place. We know this geologically without even attaching it to a biblical story in the Old Testament. So, yeah, the flood did happen. What is at question is, did God come down and tell Noah to build an ark? And he did, and saved all remnants of mankind. We don't know that that's a true story. We know that there are more than one culture that have stories similar to the Noah story. There are over 600 tribal stories about an ancient flood. So all in varying degrees of this and that and so on. And so the Epic of Gilgamesh has a flood. Yeah, it does. And it's fairly similar to the Noah story. Fairly similar. Lots of different details. Who was the guy, not Noah, in Gilgamesh? Was Upen, I can't even think of his name. Hard name to say. Ancient Sumerian name. And so the Bible itself has historical history that is found to be efficacious. And as I've mentioned many, many times, just by way of illustration, it might be okay to say it again here. It's like the Jesus story. There is somebody who appears in the Jesus story, Pontius Pilate, the prefect of Judea, Roman prefect. And for centuries, there was no proof historically that this man ever existed. And so many circles of intellectual circles wrote Pontius Pilate off as a mere myth and making the whole Jesus story a mythological account or religious mythology until 1964-ish. They were doing excavation work in Caesarea Philippi, which is the old Roman capital of Judea. And while doing that, they offhandedly found something else. They found an old staircase that was built out of old ruins, 1,500 plus years ago. And in this staircase, they found remnants of old buildings that were used to build it and so on. And this staircase was ancient already. But in one of the steps, they found an old cornerstone to a building. And it was a cornerstone to what used to stand there, that they knew there was an old gymnasium or amphitheater that was built there in ancient times. And this cornerstone had an inscription. And the inscription said, and it dates back 2,000 years. And this inscription on this step rubble that was used to build a stairway said Pontius Pilatus Praefectus Judea. And it gives, the Roman version of the dates for back then and so on. And it established for the first time that there is archaeological evidence that this guy existed. Now, that cornerstone sits in the Jerusalem Museum right now, and you can go see it. And so that I like to use, there it is. Upnapishtim. I just looked it up, said Scott Allen. Thank you. And Bauer says the Bible is a historical document based on multiple stories from multiple cultures. History is more accurate than the faith group think meme. And I would only modify your statement, Professor, where I say the Bible is an historical document based on not necessarily multiple cultures, but based as the story depicting one culture, the Jewish people. And it incorporates things from other, if that's what you meant. Moses, in writing about the Garden of Eden, very clearly took elements of the stories from Sumerian mythology that match up, and which was 1,500 years before he wrote the book of Genesis. So the Garden of Eden in particular, and that story. So it's interesting. Romans go home. Yes, Daniel Craig. I love that scene from Monty Python's The Life of Brian. So we'll have to, I wish I could just show it to you, but I can't. So on the historicity of the Bible, it's been pretty well established. So Bill Maher, getting it back to the Bill Maher story, he takes this back and he says, so the Bible itself establishes that there was a history of the Jews from, when David conquers Jerusalem, a Jebusite city, and it was the city of Salem, and he names it Jerusalem, renames it, and it was the hill of Mount Ophel, Ophal, and that was a small strip on this hilly city, and it was down. It's like today the lower city, and it's the original city. They call it the city of David, which was actually very small. I think it's about 13 acres, something to that extent. The original city of Jerusalem. But up the hill is where the Dome of the Rock sits today, where the temple was built in the 10th century BC. And there is archaeological fact to back this all up. So Israel, or the Jews, were actually there a long time before Islam came along. And so you can go through, and what I appreciated about what Bill Maher put forward is he said, look, there is no question that the Jews were not colonizers. If anybody, he says, calling the Jews colonizers in the Middle East is like calling Native Americans colonizers in the United States. It just doesn't work that way. And so the Jews were there. They had a homeland there. And then after somebody came along who really tried to commit genocide of the Jews or of a people group, Adolf Hitler, back in World War II, a mere 80 years ago, my young daughter, who's now 13, back when she was like 11, she asked me, Dad, did this really happen? I said, yeah, this happened. She's talking about World War II and Hitler. Did he kill all these people? Yeah, he did. And she said, and how long ago was that? I said, well, let me put it in perspective for you. I said, Adolf Hitler died by suicide about 15 years, a mere 15 years before I was born. I said, that's how recent that is in history. And she got really upset. She even started crying, thinking, can this happen again? And I said, yeah, it could happen again if we forget and if we don't prevent it from happening again. So back to this Bill Maher story. He went on to kind of speak this open letter to this chapel entertainer to say, you're on the right track, but if you're getting all of your information about Israel and Gaza and Hamas and Palestine from just TikTok and watching TikTok, he said it's kind of like saying you're building a nutritional diet on Hostess alone. So Twinkies and snowballs and things like that. That's not a nutritional diet. So you might have some things in there that taste good every now and then and are okay for you to eat, but you couldn't live off of that. You couldn't sustain your life on that. Matthew Sainsbury says Hitler slew gays as well. Yes, he did. You say alongside Jehovah's Witnesses, Gypsies, Poles, and many others. Yeah, alongside the Jews. Yeah, he did it alongside the Jews, but he was committing genocide of the Jews. To say that he was killing gypsies at the same rate he was killing Jews would be kind of an erroneous way to look at it, because it wasn't like, well, there were 2 million Jews and 2 million gypsies and 2 million gays. That's not the way that worked. There were what they called undesirables that they killed off, but it was primarily the Jews. They say 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust. And I think they've modified that a bit and said there were less than 6 million, but it was like, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but it was something akin to saying there were 5.5 million Jews killed, and the rest were a mix of undesirable homosexuals, Polish people, and gypsies. So there's a small minority of those people that were killed compared to the Jews, but that's what they did. The genocide was not against gypsies and Poles and gay people. The genocide was against Jews. The other people were just considered undesirables and were thrown in there. They weren't trying to wipe out the Polish people. There were Polish people, however, that died in the Holocaust in those camps. So in 1944, his increased efforts to slay the Jews when he started losing the war as well. Yeah, they increased it because they were trying to get rid of everybody that was there. They realized they're losing this war, and they started ramping up the death camps. And I'm sure that there were gays and Polish people and gypsies that all died in that last year as well. So undesirable homosexuals as opposed to desirable homosexuals, said Scott Allen. Right. Well, undesirables by the Third Reich standards for certain. And so all of this history took place, and you can establish that right now what's going on in Israel, that Palestine is not an ousted country. It's not a people group that has been oppressed by the colonizing Jews. What happened after the Holocaust is that the Jews said, there's this land where we've all been going, where we have historical roots. We want to establish a state. And they went in, and even Bill Maher said to this chapel person, he said, even you like the United Nations. He said it went to United Nations vote. And they took all the people groups living there and said, let's figure out how to make sure they've all got a homeland or all have a state. And Israel got the biggest portion, but you had everybody who claimed they were Palestinian, which was never a country, which was never a homeland. It's a region. And they all rejected the UN vote and said, yeah, we'll accept those terms only if we kill all the Jews first. So that wasn't what was supposed to happen. In 47, they voted one side Arab, one side Jewish, but in 48, the Arabs rejected. Yeah, the Arabs rejected it because they didn't want the Jews to live there at all. The Arabs claiming that that was their homeland. Yet there was thousands years of history that established that Israel had been there. Maybe they're all different kinds of people groups now. They're what they call the diaspora, the Jews that, from 2,000 years ago and forward spread into society, but they kept their heritage. And they wanted to go back and establish a state, which they did. And so the state that exists there today is one that the Arabs could have mutually agreed to and said, as a matter of fact, isn't it, I want to make sure I'm not mixing up my numbers, 13 times the Palestinians have been offered statehood alongside Israel and have rejected it because they don't want the existence of Israel. So there you go. Yes, Matthew, the Jews came and settled there following the Arab conquest in 638. And Jews came there. They didn't settle there for the first time. They resettled there. They had been there before. They'd been there for 3,000 years already plus. So, they reestablished in the late 1800s. You saw the kibbutz being built, the Zionists that would come and try to reestablish farming communities and so on in Israel, and it all led up to there you go. The Crusades, it's a whole nother thing that took place there. So, Matthew, just read Matthew's post. He'll give you a whole history right here in our chat room. And so the point with Bill Maher is that he was, and I didn't see it all the way to the end of the video. I had to shut it off because, it was radio show time. And, but he establishes that what you see in Gaza, what you see from all the Palestinians and most of the Arab people groups in that area, they are all groups that he said to this particular singer, who is a trans singer, artist, entertainer. He said, what you do for a living and how you live your life, he says, if you support Palestine, he says, they would not support you. You live over there. He says, you could go on the street and say you are a trans male and you're now a woman, and you'd be able to scream that from the rooftop from which they threw you to the street to your death for being that way. Gaza, Palestinians, and I'm speaking in broad swaths here. For the most part, in Arab countries, Muslim countries, you are not accepted the way you live. You would be exterminated. And so Morgan Snow has squirrel pirates on her porch. Outstanding. Are they up in your bird feeders? They will find any way they can to get in there. Bauer says towel heads are phony belief system that came along after the yarmulke heads. Facts don't care about your beliefs or emotions. That's right. I would state that probably a different way, but I know exactly what you're saying. Facts don't care about your feelings. Now, I don't know if it was coined by him, but it was made quite well known by him. Yarmulke wearing Ben Shapiro, a conservative commentator, was one of the first people that got out there in recent years and said, facts don't care about your feelings. Everybody's, oh, Ben Shapiro, I can't believe he would say that. No, facts don't care about your feelings. Facts don't care about your faith. Facts don't care about anything. A fact is a fact is a fact. It either happened or it didn't happen. There's no feelings involved. Scott Allen has raccoon pirates. Good morning, Susie Q. Good to see you. And so that I thought was a very interesting video. You can all, if you want to comment on that, if you want to call into the show and talk about it, you can. That's an interesting little video from Bill Maher today, and I enjoyed that. Go look it up. I found it on Instagram. It was just in my feed on Instagram. So Matthew Sainsbury says there's a guy that Jews speak about a lot about called Solomon Bar Isaac, our Rashi. He seems to have lived around the time around Moses Maimonides in the 1100s. I don't know who some of those names I don't recognize. I may have read through them and have not committed them to memory. So there you go. I don't know anything about that off the top of my head. So there's that for this morning. How are things in your neighborhood? So I thought that was an interesting topic. As far as Thanksgiving goes, I mentioned at the very beginning, I hope you all had a good Thanksgiving. Those of you who celebrate Thanksgiving. Matthew, do you have Thanksgiving over there in Barbados? I don't know if you celebrate it or recognize the holiday over there. Just curious, because not everybody does. Like Wendy, talking to Wendy. And they don't have Thanksgiving in England. Why should they? I mean, Thanksgiving here is supposed to be a celebration of when the religious pilgrims left England and settled over here and made it through the first winter or two by the help of the indigenous peoples. Matthew said they had Independence Day yesterday. I didn't know that. Barbados Independence Day. That's cool. See, I know nothing about the history of Barbados, other than that it's one of the farthest little islands in the Caribbean that's out there into the Atlantic, down in the Caribbean. So, but yes, the Pilgrims in Plymouth Rock, those pilgrims. My coffee is cold already. So, I don't remember where I was or what I was talking about exactly. I'm all over the board this morning. Thanksgiving. I'm talking about Thanksgiving. And so we had a decent Thanksgiving. We had my son Sam and his girlfriend over yesterday. We had a couple of other people that we invited, just kind of your, what'd you call them, your Thanksgiving orphan types. And we invited them over and they couldn't make it. And people we know well, it's just... there's some people, you invite people and you go, that person will never show up, but I want to make sure they know they are invited. And he just had other things going on. So that's too bad. He and his son. So and then we had Thanksgiving at Rainey's mom's house, her mom and stepdad. and on Thursday, so they didn't make it over yesterday. And then Ellery's birthday is tomorrow, so they'll be over tomorrow or Tuesday, I think, to celebrate her birthday. So we got all these birthdays in my family that are all bunched up around the holidays. Mine was the 23rd of November. Then we've got Rowan is the 20th of November. Then we've got Ellery is the 2nd of December. Then we got Thanksgiving and we got Christmas in there. So it's kind of all of that stuff is all bunched up in about a 5-week period of time. So we celebrate all those birthdays. Now, Rainey's not until the end of April, and Flynn is dab smack in the middle of August. So the far end of the year, the opposite end of the year. So thank you. I'll pass that on to her. She's not here right now. She may make herself. I don't think she's even awake yet. She's gotten to they've got this prolonged Thanksgiving vacation here that started on Wednesday and extends all the way. They don't go back until Tuesday. So they've got these days of, frivolous irresponsibility, they think. And she's lately, the 10-year-old, going to be 10-year-old, likes to stay up till 11 o'clock. Past that. We were down here already. I went upstairs around 11 o'clock last night. And she comes out of her room and she's like, I'm hungry. I can't find anything to eat. I said, well, you're hungry because you're up about 3 hours past your bedtime. And so, yeah, she's growing. She needs her sleep. Ain't that the truth, Susie Q? Yeah, we struggle with that. So we don't sleep with her. So there are times that Rainey will bring her downstairs and they'll sleep over in the family room that's over on the other side of the basement here. And Rainey will go to sleep with her to make sure she goes to bed at 9 o'clock at the latest. So, but that kid likes to do they all like doing their nighttime stuff. Now, Rowan is about the only one, the 13-year-old, that will say, it's 8:40, I'm going to bed, and she's out in 5 minutes, gone. So she's always been that way. Ellie does need her sleep. Well, she gets it. The problem is it's now almost 10 o'clock in the morning. She's still sleeping as far as I know. I've heard no noise, no pitter-patter of small feet upstairs or anything like that. So, and speaking of that, I'm going to run up and get more coffee in my cup. So I'm going to play you just a little thing, and it'll expire before I get back down here, I'm sure. But let's put this on. Everybody sit tight or go pee or go get yourself a cup of coffee, whatever you need to do, and I'll be right back. Sit tight.
Are you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Raini Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, ALANROBERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hi, my dad. He can take me to Disneyland.
Okay, I'm back. I'm just on the other side of the room. Here we go. Got my coffee. I knew the ad would expire as soon as. It took me more than a minute. So welcome back, everybody. Hope you had a nice break. And so I've got my hot coffee now. You know, coffee, it's great when it's hot. It's great when it's cold. I mean, cold, iced. But anything in between, it's like yucky. I don't like drinking it that way. So I got a coffee. Now, of course, I've had this cup of coffee down here for an hour. That's why it's cold. So, yes, Matthew, I vanished for a minute. And I went to get coffee, so I played an ad. If you missed it. What's this? Hello, Leonard Nimoy, did I see? Hi, Leonard Nimoy, Spock. Oh, is Spock here? Oh, that was maybe in my ad. Yeah, that was an illustration I did. So, by the way, if you are looking for good Christmas gifts, you know I got all kinds of junk that I sell, but it's all my own junk. So I sell original art. I sell T-shirt designs that I've done. You can go over to my Etsy page, which would be scrolling if I had ever turned it on. That's it right there. You'll see the Etsy page in there. Patreon, not Patreon. It's Etsy.com/shop/son of a patriot. You can go there and see some of the brand new shirts that we put up just in the last couple of days. So go take a look at what's over there and pick up something for Christmas. But do it soon, because in a couple of weeks, it'll be almost too late. So if you, or you can go see books. You can see, go to theswordintheclay.com, and you can still get that book on there. I don't have very many left of well, I take that back. I got a bunch of the Rise and Fall of the Nephilim, and I think I've got something else in there. I might have some Exodus books left. I'm not positive if I've got any of those left. If I do, they're in a box down there. Tam O'Hare's. I've got Tam O'Hare. So if you want one of those, you want them for a Christmas present, give me a shout, and we'll get them for you. Time is galloping these days, isn't it, Matthew? Yeah, I was just 35 years old. What happened to that? So I'm now 64. There it is. My Exodus book is interesting. Thank you, Matthew. And it's got lots of pictures in it, too. I may not have that one on hand. I don't think I ordered a bunch of those. If I did, I don't recall if I ordered those. I may have just ordered a bunch of Tam O'Hare's, and I got to order them myself because I'm not the publisher on either of those. Well, I take that back. I'm the publisher on the Tam O'Hare. The color version is my publishing effort, and it's just a republication of the older book in color. We still have the Krampus hoodie. I don't know if it's over there on the Etsy site or not. If it isn't, I'll make sure it gets up there. You can let me know if you want one, and we'll get it worked out. So Krampus is up over, I believe it's up over on the Etsy site. If it's not, it's because I've reconfigured it. We were having everything manufactured outsourced, and then it would ship out. Now we're in the process of changing everything that's over on the Etsy page. We're now doing it all in-house. So we're doing our own shirts and our own, all of that, own imprinting and our own shipping from here. So if you want something over there, you can just let us know what you want. And without ordering it via the Etsy page, and we can make it for you. And even if you don't see it there, if it's something you've seen there and you don't see it now, we can still make it. So there's that. Sherry is a graphic designer too. We'll have to compare notes. Absolutely, Sherry. You can see most of my design work just go over to my website. And it's on that scroll bar at the bottom somewhere, scottallenroberts.com. Then you just click on the design and illustration link. And you'll see a lot of my stuff over there, the kind of stuff I do. So I'm doing, been in the middle of doing logos and stuff for people. I got a new logo on board that I have to do. You'd think that there wouldn't be that much. You live off of that stuff? Yeah, I do. There's millions of logos a month that get made, and somebody's got to make them. Now, something I've seen is that, like now this is a general statement, it's not advertising my work, but in general speaking, with the advent of AI, it's supposed to say, look what you can do all by yourself. Now you don't have to hire one of those expensive designers, or you don't have to hire an expensive illustrator. Now you can do it in AI for nothing. Just subscribe to us for whatever it is, $10 a month, $20 a month, something like that. And you can make all this stuff on your own. And it's true, you can make some pretty cool looking stuff. But have you noticed, can you tell what's AI and what isn't when you see a picture? I use AI all the time even though I'm an illustrator and a photographer and all of that, I'll use AI for show headers, like this one for today. That's AI. But if you find the original of this AI and then see this image, they're two totally different things. Because I would take it in and I'd modify it and I'd do this and I'd do that and I'd customize it for what I wanted to do. So AI is great. You can even create logos in AI. But many times you'll get the logo and then just straight type at the bottom for whatever words you put in. It doesn't really incorporate into something that's designed. And so it takes a designer to do that. But we've got our culture or society is becoming accustomed to AI. And they're accustomed to AI writing things for you. I saw something in a post somewhere. They were talking about, somebody was talking about, now you can write your book in minutes and get it published on Kindle or wherever, Amazon. And we'll show you how to do this with AI. And AI can go in. I could use AI to write a book. I could have it. It can. Professor Bauer could probably speak to this better than I can. All the algorithms and all the junk behind it all, but AI could go in and analyze in moments everything I've ever written. And if I give it a theme, I want you to write about this, it can write that book. That's a great cheat sheet. It's a great way to do things. You could write a book in a day and have it ready to be published. But the discussion we were having in this particular chat room however, AI writing, it omits the heart of the author. It might get a style down, it might get phraseology down, but what's missing is the heart behind it. Rapid Dog says you can tell the difference in AI for now. Yeah, for now. It is getting tighter and tighter. That's for certain. Rapid Dog. Sherry says, yeah, one of my business associates is using AI for business questions. Literally having a conversation with AI with many instructions on how to start and run a business. And sometimes that AI comes up with some pretty good stuff because it's pulled in all that information from everywhere it's ever been input into a computer that's publicly accessible. So if I understand exactly how that works, I had somebody contact me once. It was a woman. I couldn't tell if she was supposed to be Islamic or Middle Eastern. She kind of looked that way. Brunette, but she had a headscarf, but it wasn't a hijab. It was just a headscarf. And very pretty, and was talking to me. And so, by the way, I am AI. I'm artificial. I'm not a real living person, but I can have a conversation with you. And I thought I'd just test that out for a little bit. So for about a cumulative total over a day or two, probably 15 minutes worth of conversation with this AI person. And it was pretty interesting. I thought if I didn't know it was AI, I'd thought I was speaking with a real life person. So it's not real coffee, LOL. This is real coffee. I ground the beans myself. So, and it's good. So yeah, Sherry, that's interesting stuff. I have a friend who wrote a book using a lot of AI. Wrote a bunch of poetry using AI, incorporating his ideas. I happen to know him. He's not a poet, but I'm sure he incorporated AI to help. Nothing wrong with that. More power to him. And I liked his poetry. I need to ask him point blank, which ones of these are really your poetry versus things that AI helped you construct? There's nothing wrong with it. But if you're in the business of doing something that AI is now starting to infringe on, like I look at Scott Allen. Scott, you're an illustrator. Have you seen AI effect? Oh, here, a friend of mine has had an AI assistant for over a year now. A librarian-looking woman with a British accent. It's intriguing to witness. Yeah, I'll bet. I could do that too. I think that'd be interesting. I think it'd be fun and interesting. It's like in Star Trek when I was a kid. Computer, working. It doesn't have a computer voice anymore. But let me ask you, Scott Allen, and you, Sherry, and anybody else out there who does art for a living, graphic design, illustration. Have you seen AI step in and infringe on your business? You think that, like factory workers, automotive industry, well, they're replacing this line that used to employ 300 people in this plant is now being taken over by robotics. Now, that's in essence what's happening with AI, is that I brought this up before. I'm a book illustrator. That's one of the things I do for a living. And I've illustrated many books, kids' books, technical books. I once illustrated a book for a guy that it was all about the Assyrian. That's not what it was about. It was incorporating a bunch of ancient Sumerian steles and the relief carvings. And so I illustrated about 20 of those for him for that book in black line work. Now, could you get AI to do that? Hell yeah. If you had an advanced AI, you could get it, pretty perfect stuff. But as a book illustrator, illustrating kids' books, you can go to, I would charge something to the effect of $400 per illustration. And that $400 per illustration times usually 10 to 12 illustrations in a book, plus a cover, plus the cost to design the whole book, you'd have a pretty good package. If you did one of those a month, you were making a decent income. Now, that same thing, I do that kind of work now, but we get kids from all over, and I say this rather tongue-in-cheek, from every Akistan in the world. It's usually because you see a lot of them from over in the Middle East, the Far East, India, Pakistan, places like that. And I say kids, these young people that have a computer, know how to use it, know AI inside and out, but they don't have a lick of artistic talent at all. What they can do is they can input data to say, this is what I want to see, textual data. Boy, sitting by tree, palm tree, coconut on the ground, beach, lion coming out of the water. They could put that in and they have an illustrated document in a minute or two that's an illustration. And that's all the effort it takes them. And where I would charge $400 for that traditionally, and my prices haven't changed much in the last 10 years. A kid can come along with AI that knows how to use AI, and all of a sudden he can produce the same thing, and he'll say, I'll do that for $10 American. I can't compete with that price. Now, what happens, though, what I found, and this is where Rapid Dog said they're improving AI as they go. It keeps building and keeps getting better. One of the questions I had asked one of these AI artists in a group chat, well, first I asked him, how can you make a living on $10 an illustration? You can't do enough illustrations in a month to, well, maybe with AI. And he said, well, I don't do it to make a living. I do it to get American dollars. He's got 10 American dollars in his pocket, which is worth a lot more where he is. And he can take that and use that. He says, would 15 be better? I said, that's not the point. That's not the point I'm making with you. I said, also, how do you do consistency? What if you have a character in a book that is the same character that you carry through every page of the book, but they have different situations they're in, different facial expressions? I haven't seen AI capable, well, at least it wasn't at the time I had that conversation with him about a year ago, capable of replicating a character and keeping it consistent throughout a book in different scenarios. And so it had its limitations. And who got blocked? Who got blocked? Somebody got blocked? Let's see. Said over the holidays he'll probably be back on tomorrow. Who are we talking about? Monkey Beans. Did I miss something? Did Rapid Dog get blocked somehow? What are we talking about there? I'm just curious because it's my chat channel. Oh, different channel, Captain. Oh, okay. All right. Wayne Steiger. Okay. I haven't heard Wayne in a long time. Need to tune him in once in a while. Let's see. Sherry says, I was charging $25 a page when I was a magazine producer. That was 10 years ago. Now it's more, but now AI can do it for nothing. Exactly. You're talking about $25 a page to create the page? When I was with Taps Para magazine, the Ghost Hunters official magazine, our artist, if I remember right, Lori Orrs, I believe she charged $100 a page. And that was 2009, 2010. So to do a magazine page. I did Intrepid magazine for a while. As a matter of fact, I think it's still up. Sherry, this is almost specifically for you. But if you go to Intrepid, I'm typing the intrepidmag.com. Go there, and you'll see the magazine I produced after I left Taps Paramag. I launched my own magazine, Intrepid Mag. And I think it's still there. At least it's a splash page. I think there's a splash page there. Now, this is a magazine. I designed every little bit of this. Everything you see there, all the pages, the covers, the text, everything, I designed on my computer. And I would charge an awful lot of money to anybody to create a 76-page magazine like that. So somebody charging $100 a page times 76, you're looking at $7,600 to produce a magazine. Now, I think Taps did not pay her that much, so she might have been less or cut him a pretty good deal, but she was still is fantastic designer. And there's the link if you look up there, intrepidmag.com. And that's what it costs. But see, Susie Q, you say, ouch. Think of the people who are saying, well, I got this AI guy that said he'll do it for $8 a page. You want how much? $92 more per page? And that's cheap nowadays, by the way. Times have changed a bit. Now, this is what's happening to designer jobs. Robotics, quote unquote, has come in and is stealing those jobs away. The problem with all of this, with AI writing, AI art, all of this is that it's lacking the human element. It's a mimic of the human element. If I just go straight AI, you can tell AI looks like AI. Like here's the graphic for today's show again. That's just bang straight AI. This is what this stuff looks like. And I got somebody trying to call me, and my phone is not on silent, so I just pushed him away. And it's, I guarantee you, it's after 10 o'clock. I don't recognize the number. It's spam again. You answer those calls, and you go, hello? 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 Hi, I'm Rachel. You go, hi, Rachel. Have I talked to you yet about your Medicare coverage and how you can increase it? And I go, Rachel, I'm AI. I'm not a real person you're talking to. And it's just AI. So there too. So what's muted? Am I muted? I'm not muted. So what's muted, Rapid? Yeah, magazine is $20 now. You know why? They're expensive. I've got this one right here. Here. This is my own magazine that I was publishing. Sherry and others who are designers, so this was my magazine right here. Oh, here, let me take that graphic off. The Intrepid magazine, or Intrepid Mag. That's the front cover with John Ward. And then all of these are all the different people that would write for the magazine for me. And I tell most people, I can't really pay you. All I can do is if you've got a write-up of your book or something that you would like to throw in, or if you want to do an article for us, sometimes I could pay people $75 for an article. And that was about it. So I'm a small publisher. But this is what our magazine looked like. And we square bound it. And by the way, we didn't publish them. We published it as a PDF, an electronic magazine. The exact same thing you see here, just in the electronic form. And then we went in and we made hard copies available if you wanted to. So the interior of the magazine looked like this. This is stuff I laid out all right here in Photoshop and InDesign and all of that. So, and that's the way this magazine looked. And so, and I get great. This was from, I got permission from David Roll to republish his article on the Tower of Babel. Origins by Mark Collins. Time travel. Ethics. Would you? Should you? This was Marie D. Jones and Larry Flaxman. And so this is the way this magazine looked. This particular one, I did the Sentiment Connection. This is how old this one is. This dates back to, this is volume 2, issue 1, January of 2014. So this is almost 11 years old. But this was from our Exodus reality book, the Sentiment Connection. I put that article in. I just saw something I thought was, I did this little bio piece on John Ward. And that lasts several pages in the magazine. And John Ward, Drawings in the Sand, I called it. It's a great bio piece on John. And so that was our magazine. We did this all. I did this all in-house. I didn't write everything. I put articles in mine, but I got writers that wanted to contribute to it. And there's the old, and that's the old Intrepid radio program when we were on KGRA. And that's the Planet logo is a big one I created for Race Hobbs and KGRA back in the day, 11 years ago, and all the shows and stuff like that. And I always put an article at the very beginning, Mr. Roberts, as the publisher of the magazine. And so that's the magazine we produced. And we did that all by hand, by computer. I did that all right here. I designed the whole thing when we were doing the Paradigm Symposium, the big public symposiums. We did an Intrepid magazine, and we published this one. This one was fully printed. This was like the souvenir Intrepid magazine for the Paradigm Symposium. And I had all the speakers from the symposium in here that gave me pieces to put in this magazine. Dan Madsen, Anthony F. Sanchez. We had Eric Von Daniken in here. And who else did we have? We had all the speakers from there we go. We had David Weatherly and Laird Scranton. And these were just little bio pieces. Larry Flaxman, Marie D. Jones were there. This was for the first Paradigm Symposium we did. And trying to see who else is in here. Ian Punnett, the now late Ian Punnett, sad to say. Micah Hanks was in here and wrote an article. There's Micah Hanks' article, To the Ends of the Earth, about Admiral Byrd. We had Linda Moulton Howe and George Norrie spoke at the first Paradigm Symposium. And this is just fun to look back. Eric Von Daniken and Giorgio Tsoukalos were speakers at the symposium. And so we got all those articles in here, and it was great stuff. And my son Sam with the original Tam O'Hare ad right there. So that's what we did. And I just gave me a chance to show some of that off again. But that was our magazine. And Sherry and others did this all. Now you can do that magazine. It would take me a week's worth of time to put together any given issue, because I would lay it all out myself and InDesign and create the graphics and stuff like that. Now you can get AI to do that for you in minutes. If you've got all the information, you input it, boom, it's done. You can even do the writing. Thank you, Sherry. You can even do the writing of the articles. I could publish a whole magazine, and I could publish under 10 different pseudonyms and have 10 different articles on 10 different topics every month and have it all produced with AI. It's a business model. But so, yes, AI. I spent a whole lot of time about that. There are things that... Sherry Avery says magazines I've produced. Rock This Magazine, Rock On Magazine, Air Magazine, True Ghost, Ghost Stories Magazine, web-based, still running. That's cool. That's very cool, Sherry. Mine was web-based too. It was PDF. You could download it, and that's how we distributed it. I would do a optimized PDF that could travel over the internet with ease and page to page, and you could look at the magazines. And but then we did the print copies for collectors. If you want to collect these in print, here's where you get them. It's still out there somewhere. I don't remember where, but here, if I look at Intrepid magazine, it's an old site that's been picked up by somebody else years ago, where you could go print your magazines. It's not Substack. I'm trying to see where I used to have that. Intrepid magazine subscription, review. See, some of this, there's another Intrepid magazine out there too. Let's see if it's the one in Substack. I don't think it is. So no, that's not it. But there's some place where you can go. There's a link somewhere where you can go see. Maybe it's on the Intrepid magazine site. Let's see. Click here to purchase Intrepid Magazine back issues. That's it. It's MagCloud. Here, look at this. I'll just give you this link. You can look at this in your spare time. This is just to show you what we used to do here with this stuff. This link right here that I'm posting into the chat room, you can go there, and we've got about 10 issues, I think, of the magazine up at MagCloud, where you can actually, you click on the issue and it opens it up and you can view it and flip the pages online, which is pretty cool. 8 years ago or whatever that we started doing this back then. And as you can click on any given issue you want, and you say, read this issue, read now, it says. And you click on it, and the magazine comes up, and you can turn the pages. And you can see what's going on. As a matter of fact, you know what's kind of cool? The very first one on there, it shows John Ward and I, kind of a sepia tone picture of us at Gebel El Silsila. And you can click on that. That was the written proposal that went along with the sizzle reel, or the production reel we did to try to sell History Trippers as a television show. And that we didn't just come up with that out of our ass. We were asked by my agent, who worked with some producers in television, that asked if they could see us write up some of the things we did after the Exodus reality book as a television series. So we did Traveling in Egypt, and other places in the world. You can go look at that written proposal. See all the pictures? We glitzed it up for that. A ton of great travel pictures in there. So this is all I'm saying. My original point was that this is the stuff that's now being taken over by AI. So it's become harder and harder to produce a living doing art, doing writing, and so on with the advent of AI. Let me ask you the question. You can call in and talk about this if you want. Have artists become obsolete? You can do AI images, as a matter of fact, and even doing mural work. I do murals. I paint murals by hand. Well, now they've got a machine where you can create the AI art if you want, but you can imprint it on a wall. How about that? So even murals are done. Sherry says, I'm also looking for someone to produce True Ghost magazine in print. Someone like you would be great. Well, there you go. I could do that. I'm not cheap, though. I'm not AI. That's the thing. And when I have somebody contact me for a book, can you illustrate this 10-page children's book? 10 illustrations plus a cover. Sure. What's your price? And as soon as 400 comes out of my mouth, they're like, oh, well, you're way out of well, what was your budget? Well, I had about $400 for an entire budget, they'd tell me. They'd say, so you're looking at like $30 to $40 per page for a 10-page book? Can't do it. Can't touch it for that. I can't do an illustration that AI can produce in seconds. I can't do. It would take me a whole day or 2 days to do an illustration. And when I do get something done quick, well, why should I have to pay you $675 for that logo when you just produced it in 2 hours? I said, that's why you're paying me $675, because I have the ability and 40 years of experience to produce that logo for you in 2 hours. But now AI can do it in a minute. The problem I've seen with AI logos, however, is that those AI logos are incomplete. They're missing something. They can't usually create phenomenal text logos. Something that people forget in book cover design, magazine design, logo design, is that text is as important as the imagery that you use. And that's the way it works. Morgan Snow tattoo is healing great. There it is. had a little bit of the what they would call scabbing up. It was just you're seeing it. It's still, it's just like dry skin almost that comes off of it. I wash it a couple of times a day, and you can see it's shimmering. I put some Aquaphor ointment on that cream. It's just like severe hand cream almost, but I keep it moisturized and so on. And it's you can see it's getting pretty good. It's upside down that way. I have to stand a different way, and you're seeing it a little distorted from the wrap of my arm, but yeah, it's coming along nicely. It's healing nicely. So there you go. Thanks for asking. So anyway, there's the topic. I don't mean the topic of AI talk to be an ad for my own work. I'm just talking about how AI has overtaken things. It's even overtaken art. And the big question is, when you write a book with AI, is that tempting even as an author? It's only tempting in the sense that I could write an AI book in a day, and I could put it up and maybe sell it and make some money. But it's not really my work. It's a facsimile of my work. It's a step degraded, or maybe several steps degraded from the heart I would put in. So, Ryan Gale, hey, Scotty old cock. That's a great greeting. It's too bad there's so much current stigma put to some of those words. Good to see you, brother. So thank you, Morgan Snow. Yeah, it's feeling like it's looking good. I like seeing it. It's nice. Now I want to get all kinds of others. As you all know, I've started doing tattooing, and I'm at that stage where I'm doing skinny pigs, where I've gone from fake skins and gone to real skin. Look, even my daughter has been working on this. My 13-year-old has been doing tattooing. These are just sitting on my desk here because she was showing them to my older daughters who were visiting the other day. And Rowan I've got my original tattoo gun that Rainey got me, that I've upgraded now that I've started doing. And so she comes down and uses it. This is the stuff Rowan is doing, just line work. That's tattoo on this fake skin. That's Rowan's work. This kind of stuff. That's what she's doing. And so it's pretty amazing. I said, you keep doing that, you're going to be phenomenal by the time you're old enough to legally do it, and you could maybe make a hell of a lot of money. So now, so far, AI cannot tattoo. It can create the tattoo that you can put on a stencil, but it can't actually do the tattooing. Like I've got all of these over here. Look at this. I'll show you some stuff for fun. Hang on. Hang on. I'm still here. I'm making it back. There's show you some stuff I got here. This is for fun because I happen to be sitting over there. I was going to go get some of the tattoo skins that Rowan did and I did, but this is stuff AI could reproduce this, but this is a piece of art. God, this thing is. I'm trying to think of when I did this. Early to mid 90s. This is 30 years old, but this is an animation cell that I did. Now, I did this way deliberately because we were selling animation, but that's the background, which I painted in watercolor. That's just watercolor and gouache. And then I did the overlay, like an animated hand cell animation. And it was for a purpose. And back then, that's all there was hand cell animation in the early 90s. They were just barely starting to get into doing other stuff, electronic computer stuff. This is another background I did. This is watercolor. And that was a background, and this just came off. It's been in storage for so long. This was the overlay here, which went over this background. for animation. And this was a, remember I've talked about the Ventura Boys? That was my creation. And we presented to Cartoon Network and Warner Brothers. And a few years later, they came out with the Ventura Brothers. So now mine was the Ventura Brothers. They came out with the Venture Boys, something like that. And it was the same exact stuff. So they got my idea for sure. But so that's stuff that AI can reproduce that. But that's all hand done. And now my daughter this is some of her first ones she did on fake skins, her little tattoos. Do I have any of hers on here? These are some of mine that I was doing on fake skins. So the daughter of a patriot, and this guy I was just practicing just to see how the needles worked, what I could do, and so on. And here's the son of a patriot, which you've seen many times on my coffee mug. So in a tattoo form, I just practicing. This is nothing stuff over here. All this black, I just practicing. It's on a fake skin. Little cartoon guys, on skins. I wanted to see what the capabilities were and how far I could take it. And I got all kinds of junk and my daughter's stuff. My daughter could be a tattooer. Now, AI doesn't tattoo. Are they going to come out with a machine one of these days where you can go from an AI concept and it tattoos it right on your skin? Can that be done? Can they manage that? Would that be, how intricate would an AI machine have to be to tattoo on your skin? So Sarah says, unplugging. What are you relating back to something else you said? Interesting. It's an evolution of culture. You need to know what your children are learning, taught by only you. I agree with that. So, what's the congratulations for? See, I'm missing things in the chat room. Oh, Susie Q said, you said AI cannot invoke emotion through its artwork. I say otherwise. Oh, I didn't say that, Susie Q. I said AI cannot replicate my emotions and my passions. It doesn't put out the same if I had AI write a book for me, you're not really reading my book. You're reading AI's interpretation of how I write as a book. That's what I said. And that's what I meant. AI can invoke emotion. I've seen great illustrations done in AI. Let me show you something here. If I were to go here, I'm going to sign into something. I want to show you something. This is a place I can go to get ideas over here and so on. Look at this. I'm going to share my screen with you. Boom, share screen. Entire screen. Boom, and share. Boom, you're going to see that for a second. And I go over here to, this is Midjourney. This is an AI program that I use. Now look at some of these images that are all created by AI. Look at this, Egyptian. Look at the detail on some of these. I had wanted to scroll up. It doesn't let me scroll up. But look at that detailing. Where's it pulling that from? Can I draw that? Sure I can. Could I paint it? Yeah, I could. Look at some of these images that are created by AI. And you can see the basically over here on the right, their input when they're, VHS, hyper-realistic, 1969 horrific mutant creatures are born from science fiction experiments on human brains. And that was what somebody wrote, and that's the image they got. Look at some of these like this. This looks hand-painted, huh? That's AI. And their things are a vivid neon style digital painting in the style of Vincent van Gogh. So Van Gogh as a digital artist is what it's asking for. A self-portrait of Vincent van Gogh. A glowing multicolored outlines with a radiant halo in the background, a cosmic aura. The scene is illuminated with high contrast blues, oranges, and whites, creating a divine ethereal atmosphere rendered in ultra HD quality with fine details and luminous effects. So something like this. You look at that. That's created by AI. It's using other imagery that's out there and other styles, and it combines them all and puts them together. Like, why is there an earring in his hair? Or is that a lock of hair? I've seen things like that happen in AI all the time. It's just his hair. It just looks like an earring. But I've seen stuff like that enough that it makes me comment on it. Let's get out of that. You scroll through here and look at the imagery that can be created with AI. All of this stuff. And so it's a great tool. I could sit back and just create AI images and AI text, not have to put a lot of work into it. I wouldn't have to work hard. I just let AI do it for me now. So there you go. That's the stuff that AI does. At least for image creating. So there you go. What are we talking about with homeschooling? That's why homeschooling is so important, says Susie Q. Yeah, you teach your kids your own values. Unplugging is where I saw Sarah Youssef. We go on. She was talking to me. Okay. Got it. Down Under just banned kids off social network, says Morgan Snow. Oh, the new baby coming. Sarah, you have a new baby coming? You're thinking of Sarah Harmon. She's had a baby. She already had a new baby just very recently. Wrong person. The other person. It's the other Sarah. Yeah, Sarah Harmon. She just had her baby about 5-6 weeks ago. Something like that. Sarah Soderlund, Sarah Harmon. She was divorced from Soderlund. She's now Harmon again. And a baby with her new man. And so Field Guy said it's so fun to get laid right during the holidays. Oh, laid off. There you go. I should wear my glasses when I read, huh? There you go. It's fun getting laid. You got laid off? Field Guy? Just filling out some apps. So, congratulations to Sarah Harmon. Yes, she may or may not be listening. I see her on her TikTok all the time. She sends me stuff. Oh, I got the professor hanging in the wings. Professor? I see you in miniature. I do not see you here. Some glitch.
Can you hear me? Or
I can hear you. For some reason, I just have a black screen with you.
Well, I've got a camera on my end. I don't see me.
I see you in miniature. Down in the bottom, I do not see you live. Hey, maybe go out and come back in. Let's see if it works.
All right.
I'll remove you. There you go. Try again, Prof. Give us a call back. See if we can get you in. Field Guy says, I was trying to get Elon Musk to buy the company, but I got no response. Yeah, I'm sure. Oh, the company you work for closed down. That sucks. Sorry about that, especially at the holidays. Damn. Let's try this one now. There he is. There you are.
It's good to be seen. How are you, my friend?
Good to be seen. As well. I'm doing well.
Good to be seen, good to be had, all of those good things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you
Although I'd like to be had more often than happens, but there you go.
Well, it's always good to be had and to be used and abused, because I tell you what, back in the day, that was it. That was our jam, right?
Yeah, that was it, brother. That was, yeah, I come across things that sometimes you go, wow, I had a different lifestyle back in the past, didn't I?
Well, when you realize how far we've come in such a short amount of time,
Right?
sometimes you kind of look at it and go, well, I remember back in the 70s and early 80s when we were watching all of the change that was going on then.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't realize that the social unrest during the 60s and 70s made what we just went through look like a pre-party.
Yeah.
So, historical context is one of the things that's incredibly important, and especially now because of the significant transformation and the disruption that we're having in across all aspects of life, societies, cultures, technologies,
Yes.
Government administration. The whole identity thing was actually, while it was extremely painful and very annoying to those of us that just sat there and looked at it and said, what's wrong with you people? You're just
right.
You've been disconnected from reality. When in reality and in hindsight, the identity thing was extremely necessary, just like the entire political thing. And fortunately, we are now at a point where one of the major constraints of people being able to have interactions like this, all of the
yeah, where are you? Somewhere in the background.
He's out there somewhere. He's waiting for his moment to jump in and interrupt me.
You can jump in too, Sarah. By the way, if anybody does not have the link to jump in on board and come on live here with us, here it is. It's in the chat room now. So as you were saying, Professor.
Yeah, my point overall is that having some kind of contextual reference to the information that you are interrogating by virtue of your interest and your insights and your inclinations is something that is more important now than ever.
Yeah. Sarah will be joining us in a few.
Awesome. And one of the reasons for that is the nature of the content in the context that we're all managing our way and navigating through are fundamental to the human construct and the way that we function, i.e. simplicity, things like common sense, like looking at something and going, I don't know, man, that my bullshit meter went off as soon as I looked at that, versus, oh, that I just had an encounter with, and there was something about it that I very much resonated with. And the resonant concept and component of the way that we function is what people are starting to come back to connection with, because that connection was severed. It was done on purpose to keep us from realizing the true nature of ourselves. So tying that back to your idea, or what you were talking about with AI, I mentioned in the chat, 30 years ago, when I was in the middle of my tech career, I had a staff of 25 people that cost over $30K a month to do all the marketing, design, and deployment, organization, and all that shit. And now I can do everything that I had those people. Now I can do all the things that I paid all those people to do myself in my studio.
That's the nice thing. That's like an independent author can now, instead of paying $7,000-8,000 to have their book illustrated, can do it for pennies, just knowing how to use AI.
Yeah, and it can still be just as impactful. It can still have the same kind of weight to it, its authenticity, because even if you use AI to create an image, that's still an original. And people don't realize that the key to all of this, and let me try to tie it back to what we're actually seeing to demystify all of this AI nonsense. First of all, we're not going to have a HAL 9000 Terminator singularity.
Right.
That's not going to happen. It can't, because the physics that our sciences use today can't accommodate that. you have to go into a whole different physics paradigm in order to even get close to having some kind of an awareness, sentience in silica. It's not
I'm
going to
just
happen.
putting this in because you said this, and I want to. I'm putting it in the chat room. I want us to reference that in a minute here.
So, what we're really seeing as far as a technological advancement and realization is nothing more than the next generation of Siri and Alexa and Google and Bing and all these search engines. The only thing these things have done, and it's phenomenal and it's awesome to see, is that they are pattern recognition experts. They're not AI.
Right.
They're
Right.
really expert systems designed to complete a specific task with as much efficiency as possible. That's all they
Yes.
do. That's why you've got hundreds, if not thousands, of different AI tools. You've got them not only to do art and to do music, to do video, write scripts, do voiceover. You were asking earlier in the show, is it impacted any of your industries? You know, the
Yes.
people. And
You can
as
do
a
AI for voiceover too, obviously.
Oh, yeah. And in fact, so voiceover is being significantly impacted. The people that have been around for a long time are the ones that are hanging on and still doing well. But I just found a new tool that takes and replicates my voice for me. So,
how's it sound?
It actually sounds pretty damn good, and you can tweak it. But basically, instead of me doing a bunch of voiceover, for example, doing the audio book for the books that I'm doing, I'm seriously considering using that for the audio book rather than me sitting here and doing it and redoing it and editing it and going through all of the additional work. It's going to be my call on, do I think that the
use your voice in
generated
AI
tool
reading the entire book
is good enough? I'm going to have to make that call. But
the
nonetheless,
only problem I've seen with AI, let me think of the good example. You can always tell when it's AI. It sounds pretty good until it says something like, I'm trying to think of an example where it breaks a word down syllabically differently.
Yeah.
And it's like,
well, I've seen it take the word important, and I've
Yeah.
always had a real problem with people who don't
I'm
pronounce
important.
mountain instead of mountain.
Yep.
That is, every time I hear that, it's irritated the shit out of me for a long time. But I've heard AI
Yes.
say important.
Important.
And you're like, okay. And this is another thing that will get better, but it is still a problem because of the way that the model of doing
Right.
pattern recognition against a large amount of data, where it just can't function ultimately at every right the first time. Most AI,
Right.
it takes you a dozen times before you get close to what you asked it for in the prompt.
It does.
Right.
I've got a phenomenal case in point on that right now without any references at all. While you were talking, I simply said, this is all the criteria. It doesn't know anything about what you really look like, who I'm talking about. I said, Professor Bauer, talking on radio, guitars hanging in a darker background. Something like that was all my keywords were. And so I just created, while you were talking, an AI of, and it's not you because I don't have enough detailed criteria of you, but I'm finding it here, right here. I'm going to bring this into the program so you can see it. Now, folks, this is what I did this in 1 minute. All I typed was Professor Robert Bauer talking on radio, guitars hanging in a dark background. That's all I put. I didn't give a picture of him or anything as reference, but here's what I got. That right there. Looks like Bernie Sanders in the upper right.
Right.
But now that is an AI that's created in 1 minute with that simple line I typed. And imagine what I could do if I had the ability to import a reference to his photo and a reference. I could say, let's have a great picture of Professor Bauer, this image referenced. smoking a 1 foot long doobie in his office with a bikini clad Sarah Youssef on there. Now we don't have a picture of Sarah Youssef, so it would have to be one that we would put in the parameters, uber sexy, intelligent, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. She said that's scary. So there you go. But
so here's the other thing that happens. And this is where, I've gone on ad nauseum about this on many shows over the years.
Mm-hmm.
My perception is that language is the operating system of the mind.
Yes.
Meaning that the words, the symbols, the sounds, the constructs, the meanings, the assemblage of words based on all those variables become the way that you interpret the reality you inhabit.
Okay.
So one of the examples I use to frame this is that we take the word student, right?
Yes.
In Western English, student is basically the definition of someone who studies something to completion. You're a student in pursuit of completing a mastery over this particular knowledge domain. And then after you're done being a student, you either go be a student on something else, or you are now a stamped piece of paper hanging on a wall in the way that our model is. In the Japanese language, the word for student is ka, K-A.
Mm-hmm.
And the meaning for them is that once you become a student, you are always a student. You are always in learning. You don't end up with a stamped piece of paper hanging on a wall. You are in continuous learning. So if I had that concept of student when I was young and being a student in all of the programmed propaganda public education, I would have looked at things differently. And once I had this as an example of how powerful language is and the use of it, and subtly as well, I look back on my life and I realize, well, that's why I didn't buy any of the bullshit and why I finished high school at 11th grade, why I did everything from shoveling horse shit and chicken shit to building $1 million mansions and traveling around the world. Had nothing to do with anything other than my pursuit of trying to figure out what was going on, sans what I was told was going on. Because if nothing else, over the last 30 years in particular, I feel a sense of vindication now. I feel a sense of validation, and I feel a sense of victory. Because being an old white guy, and 30 years ago, I wasn't the old, but I was the white guy.
Yeah.
I have been dismissed, denied, canceled, shoved aside, all because of somebody's construct of me being a white male and then adding the old to it once you have a certain amount of tenure. And we have had to shut our mouths. We've had to be careful. We've had to be considerate of those who are being inconsiderate of us.
Yes.
That has now changed. What happened back on November 5th was an energetic shift that rippled across the planet that basically woke up a boatload of normies to the realization that the common sense that they felt didn't match with the narrative they were being told and sold.
Yeah.
And it was a mass awakening that is becoming a mass awareness of the bullshit that we've been told for decades. So and I'm going to tie this back to your AI discussion. If AI are nothing more than expert systems designed to do a specific task with as much efficiency and accuracy as possible, then applying that to the things that are broken, which is everything.
Mm-hmm.
There is nothing that is working well anymore. It doesn't matter if it's finances, if it's entertainment. The only thing that keeps working better is technology, although it stumbles along as it does. But hey, that's what it does. It's ones and zeros, right? That's all it has to work with. That's all it will ever have to work with the current science and physics that we have. But we are now at a cultural, a societal, a civilizational transformation of, hey, it's okay to call shit out that's shit and not worry about being persecuted for having a call out of shit that is shit. And there is people now that are finally realizing that there's been so much shit that the shit must stop. And the shit was just put on notice, in my opinion, on November 5th. And it's not because of a political perspective or anything like that. There was a bubbling up and a festering blister of bullshit that's been on the hind ass of humanity for decades, been very acute in the last decade. And I'll go even back to 16 years ago when old Bumble stumbled in. That's when the chaos and the degradation of common sense, of respect, of authenticity, of integrity, of accountability just took a huge right turn. It was like a big bulldozer came in and shoved it to the side. And it said, thou shalt no longer be authentic, and thou shalt no longer have integrity of self, and you shall certainly not use that common sense thing. Because we will tell you what all those things are, and those things will now become the norm. Well, boy, did they screw the pooch. And it is awesome to see it finally get its due and its recognition for the foolery and the fuckery it's been for far too long. I think that what's going to happen is we're going to end up with a transformational experience that people are going to go, wow, I didn't realize that A, shit was so screwed up, but B, that it could be fixed so easily. This is not, it's easy to look at some of these things and go, how in the hell can we overcome this insurmountable mountain of nonsense? Well, oddly enough, AI is going to help us do that. This current tool, while it's being used in creative areas, and again, you and I were talking about the impacts of these expert systems in our selected craft. Our talent stack and skill set is kind of, it's being assaulted by this technology.
And everything creative is being assaulted, quote unquote, by AI.
Yeah.
Well, that's because they're trying to do that. And I don't see anything wrong with the wanting to experiment with that. Let's see, how creative can we make AI? Can we make it think for itself, quote unquote, based on our algorithms and our data input and so on? Can we make it creative? Can we make it speak in your voice? Can we make it write in your voice? Can we make it paint in your voice or your talent? Mm-hmm. I see that all as very cool stuff to be working on. But then you think, what's the practical outcome of that?
Well, it's kind of like, when computers and PCs came out in the actually late 70s, but in the mid 80s is when I got on them. And watching that evolution, and there was somebody over at IBM, I think, when they first sold the MS-DOS to Gates, made the quip of personal computers. Who's going to want a computer in the home? It's like, okay, well, that guy clearly didn't have a handle and a good grasp of reality when he was making that up.
That's the truth. My grandfather, who had the little island in the Honduras for years, worked as a computer salesman for a company called Hallock Company in the 70s. And this is where personal computing was as big as your house. That's the kind of stuff he sold and sold maintenance for and stuff like that. That was the computer age, baby. That was systems that filled whole warehouses.
Well, and we're talking about, the creative impact of these new expert systems, these new computing tools. It's not just art, in your case, voiceover, for example, of one of my domains, but it's also music. And music is probably, between all three, the one thing that is consistent that AI will never, ever, ever be able to accomplish. It'll mimic, it'll get close, but it can never create. It can, because there is no program code for motivation. There is no
Right.
program code for emotion, for initiative, for desire, for inspiration, for intellect even. There is no, you can't contain what happens in our mind and our experience, which is a combination of, it's all energy with a combination of electrochemical interaction. All of the things
Okay.
that we experience, for example, the different emotions,
Yes.
start with hormones.
Yes.
Hormones are chemicals.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Well, there is no code, no program for chemicals for that kind of construct in code. You can't do that. It won't work. So that's why I say, for example, that we will not have a HAL 9000 Terminator singularity.
Sure.
There will not be a moment of sentience that will, I had mentioned in the chat earlier, the Turing test is getting harder.
Okay.
to
Lapsing into the fictional, can an android such as Star Trek's Data ever be something that could exist? Could
So,
it gain sentience?
well, it's still replicating sentience. It's not
Right.
achieving sentience. And data is, the whole concept of a positronic network, which is, while it's defined within our science, or at least they have mathematical formulas from men, math models, and machines, it's not something that we can construct with the physics that we have. The
Sure.
positronic thing of Star Trek, in their world, they've not only got, positronic brains, but they've got teleportation, they've got
Right.
replicators,
Right.
they've got, they're on a whole different level of physics than what we're using. So could that
Fictional
happen?
physics.
I think yes, and most definitely it probably is a part of the what we would consider life component within the cosmos, our cosmic cousins. I think that there's probably technology, but there's something about this organic component that wherever we look at things that we consider might have some kind of sentience, i.e. consciousness, it's organic. It has life.
Right.
You can say that plants, and there's a whole bunch of science behind proving that plants are alive. They're aware. They have some level, or most appropriately, probably some degree of consciousness, of sentience, of awareness. But a rock, you look at that and you go, well, that's organic. Bauer, can a rock have consciousness? It's like, well, maybe at the lowest degree, but because it comes from consciousness, ergo it has to. Anything that we manufacture, anything that we make, from metamaterials to molecular compounds and all kinds of whatever you want to throw at it, that's something that we are taking an incomplete understanding of science and physics, and we're trying to impose what we think should happen using a limited tool set to achieve that. And
Yes.
that's where that singularity is not going to happen in our current model. Now, the cool thing is we're in a golden age. I call it the soaring 20s, or the last half of the soaring 20s, which should have been in place before they kicked off this spamdemic bullshit and then this whole election crap. But that had to happen in order for people to be able to see the foolishness and the complete incompetence of those who were parroting and yelling and making the most noise. Once they got a chance to show that what they could do, they failed. They lost part of the cosmic bitch slap that just happened. We are now done with that and can now safely move into the exploration of reality as it actually is, not from all of these bullshit constructs that these people came up with that are obviously incorrect. So now we've got a bunch of very intelligent people with incredible integrity, drive, inspiration, motivation, who are going to apply that organic construct of all those components to go and solving the problems that we have been under for too long. So that to me is extremely exciting. I am pumped big time. I am looking forward to the future in a way that I've never felt before. And I'm hearing that same sentiment from a whole bunch of people that I have a lot of respect for their thinking and their integrity and most importantly, the thing that I think people are coming back to is we're leaving mediocrity for meritocracy. Meritocracy is the result of accomplishment. Accomplishment establishes a track record. Track record establishes credibility.
Sure. By the way, Sarah,
coming.
What is it you would like to be hyper focused on?
Something else, please.
Something else.
Oh my God, my dear, this is all there is.
Why don't you come in here and tell us what you want to be hyper focused on? Oh, well, you know what? We're already past time. I got to be leaving here pretty soon because I got family things to do. It's after 11, and we've got JP just making it in.
He's pulling a prof.
He is.
I had to.
I know you were sitting there waiting the whole time. When's he going to say it? When's he going to say it? I'm going to jump in. I'm going to hit the button. I'm going to join studio.
Oh, Sarah specified, not politics.
Yeah. I had to jump in and pull a professor.
He did.
I've been taking care of things this morning, so I wasn't able to jump in earlier and all of that. So.
What things? Things.
Well, things, stuff. I just got
top
back from
people
Ohio
working
yesterday.
on this right now.
Yeah.
What people? Top people.
Yeah. What men? Top men. Yeah.
Top men. That's what it is.
So,
top men.
Yeah, no, I got back in from Ohio yesterday afternoon, and so I've been kind of taking care of all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And,
shaking Ohio off your boots. Yep.
Right, and setting up my.
What parallel universe did I fall into? Asked Sarah.
Yeah,
the one where this triumvirate rules. Sarah, you're in luck.
It's triumvirate.
Great place to live.
Yeah, buddy. So,
I hate to say it, but it's after 11. That creeped up on us really quick, and I got to get out of here because I got family stuff to do today.
That's important stuff to do. You got to get that stuff done. What
top
family?
Family.
I hope Raini listens to this portion and hears you say that.
I hope she heard that too. She may not. I think
she might not have, but you never know. You never know.
Yeah. So interesting shirt, says Morgan Snow to you, JP.
Thank you. Yeah, it's
starry night.
Yeah, it's all the old mid-century modern star points, and I got it from. There's a company called Rockin' Betty. They have a lot of cool retro stuff, or mostly for women. They do have some men's stuff. So hey, go. You
want to see some cool, very cool designs like that? Only in a Western flair. There's a place Rockport. That's not right. That's
there's a bunch of it that's out there.
They got
now.
Pretty amazing. They're expensive though. Their stuff is really good.
But it'll be like short sleeve shirts of this stuff. It'll be like Western cut shirts, but it'll have like UFOs, or it'll have like the atom. Or it'll have like there's a couple.
Interesting. I saw one of those types of shirts. It was great. It was a Western shirt with the Western cut and the snap front, and it was about $130. Embroidered stuff, and it had the UFOs on it and stuff on the top pattern. That's really cool.
There's a company out there
today.
There's a company out there that makes a short sleeve version of Marty McFly's Western shirt from Back to the Future 3.
Nice.
Well,
I saw a company that had this same shirt, and the first cue to me would have been they had used the same photograph. It was the same model in this embroidered shirt for $130.
Yeah.
We were selling it for $21. And I thought, and it said something like embroidered and this and that. I ordered it.
It was printed.
$21. Let's see what they give me. And it came in, it was all photographs that were taken of the pattern of the shirt and imprinted on really flimsy polyester fabric. So it was an imprint, and it was blurry on top of that, imprinted onto a polyester shirt. So I threw away that $21.
That's the whole thing that we see with when everybody screams about the tariffs with China and how it's just going to create more problems for U.S. businesses getting materials, getting products out there. Well, the thing is Chevrolet could have factories in China making stuff for that particular market and the surrounding markets for, that side of the world. But what'll happen is China will have people working there. They will figure out how everything works. They'll look at all the processes. They'll look at all the designs, because there is no true ownership, right? Private ownership. Not in China, right? And so they'll take that and they'll apply it. They'll build something, they'll open up another company that builds something that's very, very similar, right? With very, very similar tech, very, very similar capabilities. And then they call the company, instead of Chevy, they call it Cherry.
Yeah.
And then they sell that, and they basically undercut the actual brand.
Well,
and it's like, look, American businesses that have set up over there are going to get fucked over anyhow, because they do this kind of shit. Would you rather us have to pay a little bit more on our end here, and then have our American companies that have things over there, end up losing a little bit of money? Or would you rather have them go under over there because, the Chinese have set up, here's our Cherry Watt sedan, rather than the Chevy Volt, right? Like, yes, the Cherry Amp, right? Like, it's like this.
Jason, you're just going on about something that 90% of the people have no fucking idea what it's.
I have no idea at all.
Right?
They don't understand the economics. They don't understand the math. They don't understand the models. And more importantly, the majority of them, which is one of the reasons Trump got so much shit, people don't understand the art of persuasion. They don't understand the art of the deal. They don't understand the art of war. They don't understand none of these fundamental things.
Well, and if you want to understand war,
now are implementing and trying to get people to like, look, I know you don't understand this, but trust us. If you spend enough time to get educated on it, you'll actually understand it. And you'll go, yeah, you probably should do that.
Right.
But that's the whole other rabbit hole.
Look at all the rhetoric with, like, talking with Trump talking to, Canada, Mexico about tariffs, 25% tariffs, this, that, and the other thing. Like, all you hear the punditry on CNN and places like that talk about is like, oh, they're gonna do this and it's gonna create, and like, yeah, but you don't understand the reasoning for putting the tariffs, and like the tariffs with Mexico and with Canada and stuff like that isn't about like only trying to do American goods things or something like that. A lot of that's in response to the fact that, hey, you asswipes are letting these people funnel fentanyl into the country. You're letting them do all of this stuff. You have the illegal immigrant thing, but you also have the drug trade and all of that stuff going on with cartels and with China, because look, China's got runways in South and Central America, man, like capable of handling, like, Antonov style
they kind of own the Panama Canal.
Right, exactly. No, they do. And it was 1999 that we handed over the canal back over to the Panamanians. Yeah. Clinton did, I think. And it happened under Clinton. It got handed back over to the Panamanians, and then the Panamanians turned right to the Chinese companies to get everything, to manage everything, rather than training up their own people and all of that. And now you have, China owns the Panama Canal in terms of
what Mexico's doing right now?
What?
They're building an entire transportation network from the Gulf to the Pacific across the middle of the fucking country.
Right.
That's going to rival the Panama Canal, which is like, gee, couldn't you thought, it seems like that you should have thought about that a long time ago. But now they're actually kicking it off, and they're doing it. They've got an entire infrastructure program to go create all these satellites off of this, satellite cities and technology, all this stuff. It's like, well, yes, that makes sense.
Right.
And you've got people like Musk. Hey, you know what? I'll leave you guys with this, because Scotty, I know we're way over. I had the opportunity to get into get in a Cybertruck the other day.
Mm-hmm. Oh, how was that?
Well, it was bizarre. I expected this new car kind of smell, but what I actually smelled was Elon Musk.
Oh,
Nice.
geez.
That was a long build-up for that one.
Oh, that. Wow.
Was it worth it?
I don't know. You guys tell me.
Well, on that note, we're going to let the professor go. You can
That
go.
was bad.
Oh, there you go.
That was bad.
You and your pheromones can have a fun
Good
day.
dad joke. Good dad joke.
Professor, thanks for being here.
Yep.
See you, brother.
My pleasure. Your pleasure as always.
Oh, as always. Brother, thanks for being here for the last
Always
couple
a
of
pleasure.
overtime minutes. I appreciate it.
Exactly. Well, hey, happy to do it. Happy to be here as always.
All right. Well, you have a fun Sunday. We'll
Thanks,
see
you
again
too.
maybe tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow.
All right. Bye. Everybody else, thank you for being here. Wow. Yeah, oh boy is right, Morgan Snow. I appreciate your being here. I appreciate your time. And thanks for giving your time to me. Means a lot. So all of you right now, have a fun Sunday. We'll see you again tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Till then, live long and prosper.